again to Bright Spots. I am Dr. Fred Douglass Smith Jr., Professor of Public Theology, Director of the Center for Public Theology, and also I have three hats, Director of Institutional Advancement.
All right.
Okay, and as we have been for the last several weeks, lifting up Houston Graduate School of Theology, we put them in the spotlight because we think it's one of the best kept secrets in Houston. And so we've been speaking with faculty and with some students and with alumni, and we're going to continue that today with Miss Henrietta.
Miss Henrietta Campbell.
How you doing, Miss
Good
Henrietta
evening.
Campbell? Dr. Henrietta Campbell.
I appreciate that, Dr. Fred Smith. Good evening, everyone.
So tell me about yourself and tell me about your experience there at Houston Graduate School of Theology.
Well, that's a
And
long
you can look at
history.
me and talk to me. Yeah, that's okay.
Yeah,
Well,
that's a long history.
we got a few minutes.
Yeah.
And I'll cut you off if I need to.
No problem. I started my journey with HGST in about 2000, 2001.
Mm-hmm.
At that particular point, they were located on the Houston Community College campus on Holman downtown. I was a neophyte preacher,
Mm-hmm.
newly called into the ministry, the preaching ministry. I accepted my call. I happened to have been a teacher with Houston Independent School District at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened, there happened to have been a friend of mine on campus. We were co-workers, Louise Fordham, Methodist preacher. So I would go and pick her brain. I would go and inquire of her, what should I do? What should I preach? How does this sound? And Louise said, here's something that you need. You need to attend Houston Graduate School of Theology. My next question was, what? Because like you said, this was the best well-kept secret in Houston, Texas. Never heard of it. And so I did. She challenged me to inquire of it that very same day that she advised me, and I did go and call. And they were so welcoming at that time, and it was like an all-in-one situation. You go in, your books were there, you registered right there at the same table, you purchased your books, and you got all of the information you needed. People were very friendly. We were in this little stuffy church, but after 3 semesters, not knowing anything about financial aid, I was paying out of pocket. So I have 3 children. I'm a single mom.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to make the sacrifice, and so there was a disconnect between HGST and myself. Well, don't you know, after retirement in 2006, I met another friend at the school where I was doing hourly teaching, and her husband happened to have been a student there at that time. And so I started inquiring, and our conversation one day led to, you know, Charles is graduating from HGST. What is HGST? Oh, yes, I remember. So I get back into
Can I acquire Charles who?
Charles Hill.
Okay.
Yes, he has since graduated and has since acquired his doctoral degree from another seminary.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, it was peculiar how God just kept leading me and wouldn't let me go astray from that. So I walk in, some of the same people, Dr. Fain and Dr. Pitts, whom I knew from the former years there, were still a part of it. The administrator registrar at that time was still from the old staff there, and another person. So sure enough, I committed myself to finishing. But in the interim, I inquired at other seminaries. And this is why I've always said that HGST is one of the best fits for me.
Okay.
One of your other guests happened to have mentioned the fact that the support that they give to women, the acceptability of
Right.
women coming into the ministry. You weren't looked at it in an ass-cans fashion.
Well, but I mean, I hear that, and I hear that a lot. Be more specific. I mean, is there what is the issue, you know, that makes it so difficult? You know, I know the answer to this, but I'd like to hear you talk about it. That makes it so difficult, especially for some women here in Houston, you know, to define the kind of support or encouragement that makes Houston Graduate School of Theology so special. Tell me about your life, your story.
Well, as a black woman,
Uh-huh.
coming from a black church,
Uh-huh.
we know that the black church institution was the core of the community at
Right.
that time.
Uh-huh.
When men were elevated, it was through the church.
Uh-huh.
So they were sort of reticent about allowing a woman to come in and take any kind of leadership role or position in the church. And even today, to a certain degree, there is a denial. There is a dislike of men accepting women in the preaching ministry because they feel that they are supposed to be in the leadership role, and a woman is to follow. So to go to HGST, and before
Wait,
then,
wait, 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 wait. I'm tracking you. I'm tracking you, and
Okay.
so what are the reasons they give? Is that biblically based?
I don't feel it's biblically
No,
based.
well,
and
talk
I'm-
to me. Because
And
you-
I'm not just looking at it from a woman's perspective,
Uh-huh.
but I don't feel it's biblically based because
Okay.
there were women who followed Jesus. There were
Yes.
women who followed the other disciples.
Right.
There were women who were apostles.
Right.
There were women who were disciples.
Uh-huh.
And then God says in His Word that He will pour the Spirit upon all flesh.
Uh-huh.
So we happen, and I feel like if men are, I don't mind them being in leadership roles. I would follow a good leader anywhere, male or female.
Uh-huh.
But I don't believe God's determination for a good leader has anything to do with gender.
Okay, and so HGST is sort of egalitarian place. It doesn't, is a non-respecter of persons.
Non-respecter person. And that was one of the most honest statements I found when I entered in. That never entered into a conversation. No question about any prospective idea, sermon, or anything that you have presented. Was there a question about gender? It was accepted fully as it was from the male perspective. I can truthfully appreciate that because having had to answer questions on the telephone from another seminary, the one thing that really squashed me with them was when they said to me, "Listen, you can take any class that you want in this seminary, but the preaching class you cannot. We don't offer it to women."
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I thanked them and I hung up the phone and I tried to forget the name of the institution from then on. Yes.
Okay, so that is fantastic. You work at the seminary now,
I
don't
certainly do. I've changed hats.
you? You think that? So you got your master's there,
Yeah,
divinity
Master
degree?
of Divinity.
And then you also got a doctorate degree
I
there.
did.
So tell me about your doctorate program and the
I-
doctorate degree program there at the school.
Yes. I couldn't let go.
Uh-huh.
After the Master of Divinity program, I kept feeling like there was something that was incomplete, unfinished. And so I thought it over and hashed it over, and I thought just as I was ending the Master of Divinity's program, I put in an application for the doctoral ministry. And sure enough, I was accepted. I was just so elated by that. But there was something inside me that kept saying or questioning, are you really qualified to do that? Are you really able to do that? I had another master's degree already, and so I felt pretty assured that I could
You
matriculate.
had a master's
through-
in education?
Master of Education, yes. And I felt like I could matriculate through this master. But then here's something that I don't believe any member of my family had ever attempted. I would be the first. So I had to set a precedent, and with me, I've always felt like when you begin something, you can't quit. You may fail.
Uh-huh.
Failing means you tried and
Right.
didn't do it, but quitting means you didn't try. So I didn't want that hat hanging over my head, the quitter. But would you believe every time things got a little tough, I said I quit as I was dressing. As I was getting dressed to come to school, I quit. I'm not going back, and all the time I'm getting dressed, putting the books in the car, and making my way there. I'd go to my professors and say, I'm through. I'm quitting. And so they got so accustomed to that, they were like, yes, okay. So it was one of those, she needs a little encouragement. Here's what this brought out in me. I found something inside myself that I didn't know I had. as I was working my way through that program, I discovered something. I discovered a strength. I discovered that there are gifts that God gives to you, and you can use them as your stepping stones, your ladder. A scripture kept coming to my mind as I was going through, oh, taste and see. And I kept tasting, and I kept being rewarded, and eventually my eyes opened to see there is a possibility. Then there was a professor of mine who just sort of put his arms on my shoulder one day, and he looked at me in my eyes, and he said, Henrietta, we won't let you fail.
Wow.
And that to me,
Wow.
he just looked at my, he said, we won't
Won't
let you fail. So that meant these people, and not only were those words spoken, but I have evidence of these professors and staff members and whomever I needed. I felt so comfortable. I can go knock on their doors, whatever time of the day they were on the campus, and felt very confident and comfortable in getting that done.
Wow. So you made the transition. You master's divinity, and you got through that, and then doctorate, and now, you still wear 2 or 3 hats. You work for the school,
Yeah.
but you're also in ministry, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Well, tell me about that.
Yes, I am with the Greater Hope Missionary Baptist Church. My pastor is Mose Alvin Jones. We're celebrating his 29th year in the same with the same church, but 53 years in the same location. I joined that church in, 1997, 98. And so I've been there ever since. Now here we go again. That was a church that I was associated with, ministering in. But this young preacher also said, no woman will preach across my pulpit. So there again, that stymied me. Dr. Smith, as a matter of fact, I withdrew from the church. I was so hurt by that. And my daughter happened to have said, Mama, come and visit this church with me that my friends have invited me to. So I did. And so I kept going and going and going. And all of a sudden one day I accepted my vocation and my workplace with this church. Pastor Jones opened the door and immediately said, come on in, welcome. And I have been a servant there, working with him, alongside him for these number of years. But yes, I've been in the preaching ministry since 1997. And many have, I often remember, this is one of the reasons why, all kinds of things happen in your life to make you say, am I headed in the right direction? Sometimes the path can become so narrow or so wide, and you've got so many play points, and then you have none, and you think to yourself, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? And so you question yourself and in many other ways. But I will say this repeatedly, HGST has been a good fit for my life.
A good fit.
A perfect fit for my life. A comfortable fit. Just when you think you're failing, you're not. They allow you to try these things and maybe float a little while, and then you can still come back and they say, but you're not so far away that we can't pull you back in and give you help.
And so now you are really the face of HGST. It's such a perfect fit.
Oh, wonderful.
that you're now the
I
face,
accept that.
the face of, but they call you Mother Henry,
Yes,
right?
yes.
Say more
Yeah.
about what you're doing there now, and how this broad experience, that you're able to share, with
Yeah.
younger, well, least experienced or newer people to
Yeah.
the school.
Yeah. Since I've graduated with the D-Min, many people come and ask, what are you doing? I said, I'm waiting on God's email. He's going to send an email to me to tell me of this new position he has for me. And many people look at having graduated with your doctor of ministry, that you're supposed to be in this elevated position, making all of this wonderful money. But I have had in my spirit this thing that God has said to me: if you want to be great in the kingdom, be a servant.
Yes.
And so
Yes.
I am at that desk as the first person that people see when they walk in the door and the last one going out. I'm serving them.
Yes.
So it's sort of like I have, God has made me this loaf of bread, and he has sliced me. And now I can cast the slices upon the water and they return, because what I give to them, the new people, and those who are depressed and suppressed on the verge of quitting, when I cast the bread out there, I can say to them in true and living color, don't worry about thinking you should quit. I did too.
Uh-huh.
But guess what? I did not quit. And so I give them a recipe. I give them a formula. Many have cried on my shoulders. Many have asked for my advice. Many have asked me to read papers with them and for them, or have lunch with them, or whatever. And so God has given me that important position to be that servant at that front desk and give encouragement. Just give myself to people who come in.
I tell you, it's always a pleasure when I come in every day to
Blessings.
see you smiling.
Thank you.
But also knowing the intellect that's also behind it.
Praise God.
You
Praise
know,
God,
you're a
yeah.
Dr. Henrietta
Yes.
Campbell, you know, with a long experience and so
Yeah.
forth at the school. You've seen the school go through many phases and many changes
Yes,
and
I
so
have.
forth.
Yeah.
Tell me, what is your vision for HGST? Where would you like to? I mean, you're also a seer. I know you are, because
Yeah.
you said so before.
Yeah, some
What do
things.
you see?
Dr. Smith, I have seen this location expand.
Uh-huh.
I've seen us in a new facility,
Uh-huh.
big and wide. I've seen several floors that have opened above our heads. And we have people, young people of all diverse cultures, ethnicities, races, who have come together. And there's going to be such a mixture of people from all over the world. I have also planned to have all of the continents of the world drawn and fixed on a fixture, a wire fixture. And I want to start placing people's pictures and little light bulbs that will light up when they put their pictures there, to let us see how many people we have trained and taught so far. But I want to see this world lit up with those lights of people coming from so many places. And I hear people calling me on the phone and say, at my job, someone told me about HGST today, and I haven't heard of them before. And I said, now that you've heard, then you go and tell somebody else. Because even if they don't make it to HGST, we have passed the word on, and that person, one person, Christ took 12 and changed the world. We've got more than 12. And we can make a big difference with the population of HGST. But there's a special mixture that Christ uses. Everybody doesn't fit. Everybody does not fit. But those that do will come and add to it rather than distract from it. My mother used to always say, be careful of being around too many people. Everybody that you're with, a lot of people aren't people that are good people. And so God, I believe, has been selective in choosing such wonderful people to bring and add to the mix. And so when they come, there will be an explosion. And it's not in the too distant future.
Well, we're working towards that right now.
Exactly.
In fact, we started an alumni
Yeah.
association,
Yes.
Houston Graduate School of Theology Alumni Association,
Absolutely.
and planning a major event,
Yes.
that's coming up in November.
November,
In fact,
yes.
a homecoming celebration, November 9th through 11th.
Yes.
We're going to have a gala banquet.
Yes.
With Bishop Vasti McKenzie
All right.
is coming.
All right.
We're looking at perhaps putting together a preaching or ministers conference.
Beautiful.
Where we
Yeah.
can bring back some of the great preachers that
Yeah.
went to HGST as well as others,
Absolutely.
and people can come and learn and so forth.
Yes.
We have activities going all the way up, but we have an activity that's coming up fairly soon called Reason to Race.
Yes.
You know a little bit
I
about
think
that.
I've heard about
you want to say a little bit about
the
that?
geriatrics.
We have a geriatric team.
I'm going to be head of the geriatric team. It's not all over just because you're a senior citizen. Some of my best years have been with this white hair. Let me tell you why I said that some
Okay.
of my best years have
Okay.
been with this white hair. Because of all the experiencing and the learning that's behind this.
Yes.
One thing I found out is that I don't have to worry.
Uh-huh.
And the Bible has really become so embedded in me. Now, I understand so much better what the Word of God says, and because I'm looking at it from a new seat in the stadium. There was a time when I was around the fire, and I was being burned because I thought I had to do all the running. And now I'm in the comfortable seats where I can lean back a little bit. They're cushioned because the experiences I have had have taught me that when God says, I don't have to worry. I don't have to worry. If I just listen and be obedient to what He has said, I can sit in the comfortable seat and I can depend on God to do what He has said He will do. Yes.
So tell me, what would you say to prospective students or people who are, especially women who've gone through what you've gone through and experienced what you've seen, who have a burning passion in their spirit and their hearts now to serve God in the way that they believe God is calling them to serve. And HGST is no longer the biggest secret in Houston, but you have an opportunity to witness. What would you say to them? And you can talk to the cameras.
2 words. Come on. Come on. To be able to say you failed is one thing. And you can explain that. But for you not to have even tried, it will bear upon your conscience very heavily. I never wanted to be a coward about what God has called me to do, because I know when He opens the door for me, He will stand there and keep it propped open so that I can walk in and won't have to rush. But the one thing you want to be sure of, I think, is that you will talk to God to be very sure that you are called, that you haven't called yourself, but that you've been called by God. The provisions then have already been made. I can remember a young woman, Frederick, we call her Fred, but her name was Frederica. Forgive me if I don't remember the last. And I came in one day complaining because I didn't feel so confident and assured that day. It was another way for me to try to back out of being in school. And she walked up to me when I was doing the complaining, and she tapped me on both shoulders real hard as if to say, wake up. And she said, you answered the call. You answered the call. So God has already got a way provided for you. I found that to be true. And so I'm inviting you again with these 2 words. Come on. Come and see. Taste and see that the Lord is good. There is a family and a loving, caring family atmosphere at HGST. I'm there, and I certainly would be there to welcome you with open arms as Mama Henrietta.
Okay, Mama Henrietta.
Yes.
that was quite an invitation.
Yes, come on.
That you're giving.
Yeah.
But on a serious note, HGST, is at a precipice. We are standing on the other side of Jordan, so to speak. I
Yes.
mean, we have 35 years
Yes.
of experience in Houston, where we've traveled, as I guess it told us, from place, and you've seen some of that, from place
Sure.
to place.
This
You
is-
know, always getting stronger.
Yeah.
As we go along, and now we're at a place where we're in Houston, Texas. The third largest city
In the
in the
United
country,
States,
in the United
yes.
States, one of the most diverse cities in the United
Yes.
States, the International Space
Yeah,
Capital
yes.
headquarters, is here. Some of the greatest preachers and greatest congregations that are world known and world respected,
indeed.
and people still go to church in Houston.
In Houston, that's right.
And there are many
Yes.
in need of theological grounding and nurturing that can give them confidence and equip them for the call of the ministry.
Yes, indeed.
But we got to get over the Jordan.
Over the Jordan. And that's not an easy task.
But
It's possible.
But we know that there are giants there
Oh, yeah.
over there in the
Yeah.
land. We know that, and we know that they're great fortified cities. But we
Yeah.
also know, as I've heard over and over again, that the Lord is with us.
Oh, he is.
And that if you have enough courage, be like Caleb, who had a
Yes.
different spirit.
Yes.
I think the folks who go to HGST have a different spirit.
They do. Yeah.
They say, we see the giants. We know we have to ride the bus early in the morning. We know that we have children. That we know we have
Sure enough.
we have financial problems. We know that, but we are not grasshoppers in our sight.
And another thing I found out, Dr. Smith, is that all of the giants are not out there.
Uh-huh.
There are bigger giants inside.
Ooh, yes, yeah.
And they're the ones that can
Yes.
destroy your dreams.
Ooh, yeah.
And stop your force. So we have to confront that giant in here first,
Ooh, yeah.
which will make it easy for us to look into the eyes of the giants that's confronting
And
us.
I've
from
heard
the outside.
that through our counseling program and so
Yes.
forth. That's what we teach. Well, we thank you. We run out of time. I thank
Yeah.
you, Mother Henrietta.
Oh, God bless you. It's been my pleasure.
You know,
Thank you very much.
And I thank you for being with us today on The Bright Spots.
Thank you so very much, Dr.